Hello everyone, happy Tuesday from snowy Cambridge, Ontario. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from, as I mentioned, Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And I am super excited to share with you today these three beautiful traditional Christmas cards featuring the Peaceful Boughs Bundle. Now this bundle is in the Stampin' Up! Holiday catalog and can be found on page 15. Okay, so we have a beautiful stamp set with some sentiments and beautiful greenery and pine cones, and then some coordinating dies. Now it's always nice to see the real thing, so I have the stamp set and dies here for you. These dies, these pine bough dies, this one is huge. Okay, look at the size of this. Okay, it basically covers my hand. It's a very large die. It cuts a nice large pine branch, and then we have one that cuts 3 and then a single. We have 2 detailed pine cones and then 2 plain pine cones. The detailed ones will layer over top of these, but these will also cut out the stamped images, and I'll show you that later on. And then we have 2 really unique tags with the little diamond detail on them. So we're going to use all of those dies today, as well as the stamp set, and we're going to create these 3 cards. Hi Debbie, how are you doing? How's the weather where you are? It is so cold and snowy here. I feel like it's January and it's only November. It's way early for this, if you ask me. All right, so we are going to get right to it. I'm just going to move my catalog out of the way, and we're going to start with this card here. So this is totally traditional. I went with all traditional colors this week. Your traditional Christmas red and green, and I'm going to bring in all my little bits and bobs here and show you how I put this one together. Hi Irene, how are you doing? I bet you guys have more snow in Woodstock than we have here in Cambridge. We got a fair bit, but I'm betting you got more. All right, so to start, I have here a piece of Whisper White cardstock. It is cut to 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and I have embossed it using the tin tile embossing folder. Okay, isn't that a pretty one? This was actually in last year's holiday catalog and carried over to this year's annual. And it's often forgot about because we have so many awesome new ones, but I really love the look of this. You can use this one with the bumps facing out, which is what we refer to as embossed, or you can flip it over and you get a debossed look. So either one works. I'm going to stick with the embossed version. Okay. And then here I have cold and snowy. Yeah, Debbie, it's kind of the same here. It's not snowing right now. We're supposed to get squalls later on tonight, which does not make me happy because I have to drive to a meeting later on. Here I have a piece of wrapped in plaid designer series paper. This is also from the holiday catalog. It's beautiful paper. All of our DSP is double-sided, and this paper is specialty papers. Can you see the gold shimmer on there? It's really, really pretty. So we have the gold foil detail on every single sheet in this pack. So I'm going to go ahead and add a bit of adhesive to the back of my plaid piece here. And now this isn't going to work. My fingers are frozen, okay? I just came home from work, brought groceries in, and came down to my studio, and it is so cold down here. So I'm just going to glue this strip. I should mention that this is 5 1/4 by 2 inches, so it basically covers the bottom half of that panel, okay? And then we're going to add a little bit of ribbon. So here I have some of this beautiful diagonal striped ribbon. I am going to add a glue dot to one end and lay it across my panel, and I just kind of want to go up to the edge of my DSP there and wrap the end around and adhere it to the back. Okay, then I'm going to trim it off my roll. Just need a little bit, just enough to wrap around. Add another glue dot and adhere it. Whoop, my glue dot didn't stick. This is what happens when it gets cold in my studio. My adhesives are too cold to work. They don't want to cooperate. There we go. Okay. Next, I'm going to take my card base. I'm just going to set these bits out of the way. And I'm going to go ahead and fold it in half. So this is a cherry cobbler card base. It is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 inches. And I've scored it in the middle at 4 1/4. Okay. So I'm going to fold that in half along my score line. crisp it up with my bone folder, and then I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of that white embossed panel. And we're just going to pop that onto the front of our card. So when you cut your cardstock, the size of your border is determined by the amount that you subtract when you are doing your layers, okay? So I subtracted 1/4 inch from both dimensions, so that means my border is going to be 1/8 of an inch border all the way around, okay? All right. Next, we're going to do some stamping. So here I have a piece of Whisper White cardstock. I have die cut it using the Stitched Rectangles framelits. And I need to grab my, where did I put my pine bough stamp? There it is. Okay. Oh, and I put it in another kit. There we go. I need my Shaded Spruce ink. So I am going to go ahead and stamp this image. So this is one of 3 pine bough images in this set. So this is this one here. And I'm going to go ahead and, no, it's not. It's not that one. It's this one. I'm going to go ahead and stamp that in opposite corners on my stitched rectangle using the Shaded Spruce ink. So I'm just going to ink that up. I'm going to stamp it once in the bottom corner. Just like whoa, not so much like that, but you know what? That one I can probably fix just by doing that. There we go. And then we're going to add another, just make sure this is inky. My ink pad is kind of dry. It's gotten a lot of use over the last couple of weeks. Okay, just like that. Now don't worry about that little bit that didn't stamp all that great, because we can hide it with our tag. All right, so that's my finished stamped piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and adhere it to a cherry cobbler layer. So this is just a piece of cardstock. I didn't die cut it. I just cut it with my trimmer. And I cut it exactly 1/8 of an inch larger than my stitched rectangle, so that when I adhere it, I'm going to have a 1/16 of an inch border all the way around. So I'll just go ahead and add a bit of adhesive to that. Even my fast fuse doesn't feel very sticky in this cold. Not loving the early arrival of winter, I gotta say. I could hibernate until spring if I had my way. So now this is going to get layered on the front of my card. Okay, I'm going to just mount it flat because I have some other things that I'm going to pop up. And I don't want it to be too thick to go through the mail. So I'm going to make a point of putting that little bit that didn't stamp all that well down in the bottom corner, and we're going to hide it. So I am now going to center this onto my card front here. I'm using the lines on my plaid to help get that straight, just like that. Okay. Next, I have a little piece of Crumb Cake, just a little scrap of Crumb Cake cardstock. And I'm going to take my Early Espresso ink pad and ink up this small, hey lady, how you doing? Tamara. Tamara, there are so many different pronunciations of your name. I'm sure one of those was correct. You think I would know that, wouldn't you? Tamara, it's Tamara. I know it is. So I have inked this up. So this is the small pine cone. Okay, small pine cone. This guy. There's a large one as well, but for this card, just for the scale of it, I want the smaller one. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp that pine cone twice. Okay. Now the dies, remember how I said we have both plain pine cones and detailed ones? Tamara. See, I was right. Okay, good. Thanks. Thanks for clarifying. So these dies line up perfectly, like absolutely perfectly. And when you run them through, you're going to get something that looks like this. Now, you're going to see that these are way lighter. Believe it or not, I use the same color of ink, but I re-inked my ink pad. Look at the difference. This is the difference between a freshly inked pad and a really dry pad. Look at that. I didn't even stamp these off. That was what was left in my ink pad. Isn't that amazing? Anyhow, we're going to go with the ones that I've already die cut because I'm not going to take the time to die cut more because we got other things to do. So we're going to go ahead and add these to our card. So what I did is I just took a glue dot and I glued these guys together. Just kind of layered them like that. All right. Then I'm going to go ahead and pop them up. So remember how I said we're going to pop up a few things on here? This is one of them. So we're going to pop our pine cones just in the corner here, just like that. Okay. And then we're going to tie a bow with our double-sided ribbon. Now I've shown you this a couple of times and I keep getting people asking me for another explanation. So here you go. So this striped ribbon is double-sided. So one side is red with white stripes, the other side is white with red stripes. And a lot of us, when we tie these bows, we end up with one tail that is the wrong color, right? So when I tie, if I don't do this little trick, I end up with a white and a red. Okay, so I'm going to show you this little trick for tying double-sided ribbon. So remember how when I teach you to tie a ribbon, I tell you to make 2 loops and keep them flat, right? So we have loop 1, loop 2. This time, we're going to do it a little differently. So we're going to make a support ribbon. Okay, so I'm going to take, come on, I'm going to cross this over. So there's my support ribbon, right? My Cancer ribbon. So I'm going to hold that loop like that in my right hand. My left loop, I'm going to do the same way as always, just like that. Okay. Hi, Martine. How are you doing? So I'm going to go ahead now and cross my regular loop over my support ribbon loop and bring it through my little hole there. And then I'm going to resize my tails. And when I'm done, I'm going to get tails that match. Okay, so this is the way that you get double-sided ribbon so that both of your tails are the same color. You see that? Okay, so the key is to make a support ribbon with your right hand. Okay, all right, so then I'm going to just trim my tails off here. Get rid of these bits. And then this is going to get adhered right at the top of my pine cones here with the glue dot. All right, just like that in the corner. Okay. All right, last step is to stamp our sentiment. So here I have one of those cute little tags that I cut from white cardstock, Whisper White cardstock, and I have my Season's Greetings stamp. Now this is where it gets interesting because I'm going to try and stamp this in the middle of my tag while looking at it from the side. So we're going to see what happens, and we're going to try for straight. So here we go. Cherry Cobbler ink, stamp on tag, cross your fingers, say a little prayer, and oh, that was pretty good. All right. So that is my Season's Greetings. And here I have just a little strip. This is a 1/2-inch strip of gold foil cardstock. And I'm going to, whoop, that's the wrong punch. Grab the wrong one. I'm going to grab my tailored tag punch and create a little banner. Before I do that, I'm actually going to glue this on. That's going to allow me to size this just right, okay? So I'm going to take a little bit of fast fuse. I'm going to stick this down onto my little strip here so it is straight-ish. Straight is better than not. There we go, okay? Then I can go ahead and trim my banner in. So you see how I slide it in until I can see the little point on that label, and then I'm going to back it off and punch. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this side, slide it in, back it off, and punch. And that way I can get my ends relatively even. Okay, all right, now we're going to add some greenery. So here is that large pine bough die cut, and I've cut it from Shaded Spruce cardstock. And I'm just going to trim a few little branches off of here. So what I love about this, because it's so big, is you can actually get a few cards out of that one single die cut if you don't use too many of the pine boughs, okay? I love these dies because it's kind of like DIY embellishments, right? So I can create my own little seasonal embellishments by just die cutting and then adding them to my card design. So let's trim this one. Now these two are actually designed to go together, but we're just going to trim that off there. And I'm going to grab a glue dot because I have covered up all my adhesive. There we go. We're going to add one more maybe here. Okay, so they're just stuck to the back of that little tag. And then we're going to add some dimensionals to the back. 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to pop this up. I'm sorry if I'm sniffling. It is really cold in here, and the cold makes my nose run. I need to bring the space heater in. I usually don't do this until January. Seriously, it's brutal. Okay, so I'm going to pop this onto the front of my card. I'm going to hide that little oopsie that we had there. And no one will ever know. Except you, and you won't tell them, right? There we go. Done and done. How easy was that? Super, super simple. I'll show you on my original what I did on the inside. if I can open it with my freezing fingers. I added a Whisper White panel, stamped a few more pine branches, and then this sentiment is actually from the Itty Bitty Christmas stamp set. Okay, so that is that. Done and done. All right, number 1, check. Let's move on. Where is number 2? Number 2, here we go. So this one is one that I actually did at my fall retreat about almost a month ago now. It's hard to believe. 3 weeks ago. It seems like just yesterday. And we did this as part of a Stamp-A-Stack, and my ladies loved it. Now, I kind of cheated and used a sentiment from a different stamp set, but it's a host set that you're all going to want anyway. So I'm going to show you that set. This is, oh, thanks, Martine. I'm glad you like that one. This is the greatest part of Christmas set. This is at the back of your holiday catalog. It's one of the host exclusive sets. Now, that does not mean that you have to host an event to get this set. This set can be purchased with Stampin' Rewards. You start earning Stampin' Rewards when you place a $200 order here in Canada. So if you place a $200 order, you can use your Stampin' Rewards to purchase this stamp set. Okay, it is an awesome set, and this sentiment is, well, it's reason enough to buy or to get that set. Okay, it is awesome. So let me just find my kit. It's back here somewhere. Too many things kicking around. Oh, that's not the right kit. This is the right kit. Here we go. Alrighty. So to start, I have already gone ahead and stamped and embossed that beautiful image. This is embossed in gold. Is that not gorgeous? Look at how beautiful. Hey, sister, how you doing? I bet it's warmer there than it is here. So it's just so pretty. Now, I'm going to take that same stamp that we used on the last card. I'm going to give it a quick cleaning with my chamois, my very, very dirty chamois, my very not very wet chamois. Flip it over. Maybe it's wetter on that side. That's better. And I'm going to take a little bit of Delicata Gold. So this is our metallic ink. Now, unfortunately, I think this one is sold out, which makes me very sad because I absolutely love this ink. I'm going to ink it up just a little bit. See, this is getting dry too. My pads have been used too much. And I'm going to add just a little hint of the pine branches in the gold, just kind of in that corner. Can you see that? All right. Oh, I'm keeping you company? That's good. I'm keeping you company from Canada. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and layer this onto a stitched rectangle in gold foil. So this one is cut from Whisper White cardstock. This is our gold foil. Okay. Now, when I mount this, I'm going to pop it up because, well, popped is better, if you ask me. Everything's better popped. My motto in class is when in doubt, pop it up. Right. All right, so we're going to pop this on here. Oh, I'm stuck. There we go. And I'm running out of dimensionals. I've had so many people through my studio in the last couple of weeks. I am out of everything, like everything. So I have a very large order coming at the end of the week, which will restock me in adhesives and cardstock and just about everything. So I'm going to just get rid of my backings here. And we're going to pop this onto our stitched gold rectangle. And I'm going to take care to center this. Now, again, I'm going to do my best because I'm not looking at this straight on, but we're going to wing it. That looks pretty good. Just like that. Okay. All right. Now, here I have a piece of Shaded Spruce cardstock. It is cut to 5 1/4 by 4 inches. Hello, Sue. Hi, Karen. Everybody's finding me now that it's almost 5 o'clock. I had to come on a little bit early today because I have a meeting in Kitchener at 5:30. So I had to jump on a half hour early so that I could get this in before I have to get to my meeting. So that's why we're early this week. Hello. Probably not quite as much. I think you guys got more than we did. So I'm going to take that same pine bough stamp and my Shaded Spruce ink, and I'm going to stamp all the way around the edges of this Shaded Spruce cardstock. And a lot of people go, oh, you're stamping the same color of ink on the cardstock. And yes, you can do that. And look at it, it shows up. You actually get quite a cool effect. It's just a tone on tone look, but it's really quite pretty. It's kind of subtle, okay? Just like that, all the way around. Really simple. Then I'm going to bring back my gold ink and this spatter stamp. So this is one that a lot of people miss in this set. This little spatter stamp here, anytime there are images like this, it just makes the stamp set that much more appealing to me because I love the amount of texture that we can add with that stamp. So I'm going to ink that stamp up with my Delicata Gold, and I am just going to add those spatters all the way around my panel here. The trick with using spatter stamps is you want to make sure you are rotating your cardstock and or your stamp, okay? So that you don't get the exact same image every time. It doesn't look random and spattery if it's the same, right? All right, so we'll get that out of the way. Next, I have some more of that gorgeous wrapped in plaid. This is back in stock, by the way. It was on back order and it just came back in stock today. So if you have ordered this and you're waiting on it, it should be shipping probably tomorrow, okay? It is back in stock, which made me very, very happy. All right, so this is a piece that is cut to 5 1/4 by 1.5 inches, okay? And that is gonna get adhered right to the front of my panel. So we'll just add a little bit of adhesive there. And again, using my grid paper, it is my friend. It helps me get things straight. I'm gonna stick that down. Okay. All right. Now I have another cherry cobbler card base. So we are all about the traditional red and green Christmas today. It is cut to 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. Okay. It is exactly the same as the last card. It's scored in the middle at 4 1/4. And I'm going to fold it in half, crisp it up with my bone folder. Yeah, isn't that a wow? Isn't that ink gorgeous? Does that show? Oh yeah, it does. Look at it shimmer on the camera. Isn't that pretty? Oh, love it. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of adhesive to the back there and pop this onto the front of my card, just like that. Okay. All right. Here is my embossed greeting, and I've stamped my pine boughs there, but we are also going to add a couple of pine boughs that we've die cut. So we're not going to use all three. I'm going to trim off one of them, and we're going to adhere that just to that upper corner like that. And I'm just going to use a couple of glue dots. I need to get rid of this. That's too much paper to deal with. So what I find with these, the glue dots are just a teeny bit large to fit behind the die cuts on these. So I just kind of fold the glue dot over with my thumbnail. You see how I'm doing that? And that makes them easy to hide behind your die cut. Makes it easy to glue it on. Okay, so then I'm going to just pop that onto the front of my card, or onto the front of my sentiments like that. All right. Then I'm going to go ahead and glue it onto the front of my card. So again, we'll add, Oh, for a minute, I thought my fast fuse had run out. I seem to run out every week on this video. All right. So we're going to pop this onto the front. Again, we're going to try to get this centered and straight. We are going to approximate because we are not looking at this straight on. That's not bad. And then the last touch is to tie a pretty bow. So here is your regular bow tying lesson for this week. This is some of the Shaded Spruce and Gold ribbon. It is beautiful ribbon. I am going to miss this one when Christmas is over. We're going to take that ribbon, we're going to pinch it between our thumb and index finger on both hands. Okay, so I'm making loops. I'm keeping the ribbon nice and flat. I'm not allowing it to twist. I'm going to take my left loop, cross it over my right, and bring it around and through. And then I just adjust the size of my loops and tease my bow out until it is the size that I want. Okay, this ribbon is really nice to work with. It's really forgiving. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different with my tails. I'm actually going to notch them. So I just fold my ribbon in half and cut it, and then I get that nice little notched end on my tail. Just something a little bit different. Okay, that is going to adhere to the front of my card with a glue dot. So I'll just press the knot into a glue dot and adhere that like that. Isn't that pretty? Really simple. This does not take long, this card. This would be an easy one to mass produce for Christmas cards. If you are still wanting to get Christmas cards made, I say still. I've been making Christmas cards since July. And I know most people don't start their Christmas cards until about now, so I shouldn't say still. I'm sure many of you haven't even thought about making your Christmas cards yet. So this is an easy design. As I said, we did this in a Stamp-A-Stack, and it was pretty quick and easy. The embossing, you can do a whole bunch in one batch, and it's pretty quick and easy to do. Now I'll just show you quickly what I did on the inside. Thanks, Martine. I'm glad you like it. So here I added another white panel. I added some stamped pine boughs, and then I added some more of that gold shimmer with the spatter stamp, and then another sentiment from that awesome Greatest Part of Christmas host set. Okay, so that is card number 2 in the books. All right, last one is this one. Now this card is so easy. It's got very little stamping. We're just stamping our sentiment and some pine boughs, and that's it. All the rest of the work is done by this beautiful Toile Tidings designer paper. Okay, so this paper, it's right at the front of the catalog, and it has some beautiful sort of traditional imagery. Hi, Alfie. How are you doing? Did you get a lot of snow in Guelph there yesterday? So I am using this panel here. It's got the animals and then the stripes, okay? And the cool thing about all of the paper in this pack is that one side is garden green and the other side is real red, okay? So you can mix and match and interchange them. So for this one, I'm using the garden green side. This panel is 5 1/4 by 4 inches, okay? And this strip is 2 1/4, I believe. 2 1/4 by 5 1/4. All right. Then here I have a piece of cherry cobbler cardstock that is 2 1/2 wide by 5 1/4. So what I'm going to do is glue that striped DSP to the cherry cobbler panel. I'm going to have a little bit of a border on top and bottom. Okay. Let me just get all my goodies out here. I'm getting ahead of myself. Haven't even unpacked. All right. So we're going to go ahead and glue that one down. And again, I'm going to use my DSP to my advantage, or my grid paper rather, to my advantage, and just work on getting that DSP nice and straight on there with an equal border. Okay. Then I'm going to bring in my larger DSP piece. So again, this is 5 1/4 by 4. I agree, Alfie, there's too much snow for the date. This is going to get glued just like that, centered on that larger DSP panel. So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, my fast fuse is not like the cold. It's just like me. And I'm going to go ahead again and glue that in the middle, across the middle of my panel, using my grid paper to help me get that straight. Okay, just like that. Straight-ish. It's not quite perfect. All right, so then I'm going to take a little bit of this vanilla and gold ribbon. This is satin ribbon. This has been in the catalog for a couple of years. Where did my glue dots go? There they are. They're hiding under a stamp. And it goes perfectly with this suite because it's based with very vanilla. The backgrounds are very vanilla. So I'm going to add a glue dot to the back of that ribbon. I'm going to lay it across, trim it off my roll, and then add another glue dot. Okay, so this little trick is just a way to avoid wasting ribbons. We don't need to put ribbon across the back where nobody sees it. But that gives you the look of ribbon that's tied around, but it actually isn't. Okay, it's just a little ribbon saving trick. So here I have yet another cherry cobbler card base. It's exactly the same dimensions as the other two cards, 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. Okay, I'm going to fold along my score line. Hello, Kathy Angus. I thought you might have been South or Europe bound already. I can't remember when you said you leave for your trip. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that panel to the front of my card. So I'm going to add a little bit of fast fuse here. Uh-oh, now I am out of fast fuse. All right, here we go. Tombow it is. We'll add a little bit of Tombow here and stick this guy on. When are you leaving, Kath? Now, the thing with this DSP is because it is animals, you're going to want to make sure you have it oriented properly. Now, right now you're looking at it going, but that's upside down. That's because I assemble my cards upside down. I'm a little odd. It's just the way I do it. I can't explain why. It just is the way that works for me. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to bring in a stitch nested label. This is cut from very vanilla cardstock. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp that Season's Greeting sentiment from the stamp set again. So we'll ink that up with a bit of cherry cobbler. And we're going to stamp this in the middle of that label. Just like that. Okay. Then I'm going to bring in the smallest of the pine bough stamps. So this little guy here. And my garden green ink. And I'm going to stamp it a couple of times. My garden green is pretty dry too. Wowza. We'll stamp once there. And we will stamp again down here. Now I could do all of these with the same image, but hey, let's switch it up because there are lots of different stamps in this set. So we'll stamp a couple in this corner and we'll do this one down here. Okay, you'll notice I didn't stamp top and bottom. I just kind of wanted the sentiment to stand out a little bit more, so that's why I just did the sides. All right, now before I adhere this to the front of my card, I'm going to add some more pine boughs. So these are cut from Garden Green cardstock. Okay, so this is the largest one. I'm going to add a couple of glue dots because my fast fuse is empty. Add a couple of glue dots to the back of my label. And I'm going to adhere that one set of pine boughs right there. Okay, next I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. Add a couple of glue dots. And this time I'm going to adhere the smaller pine bough. And we'll kind of do it like that. That works. Okay, just like that. Now I'm ready to put that on the front of my card with some dimensionals, or the frame of my dimensionals, because this one's almost done. And you all know that you can use the frames, right? Please tell me you aren't throwing your dimensional frames out. I really hope you're not. Because you're wasting perfectly good dimensionals. If you're doing that, do not throw your frames out, okay? That's your public service announcement for today. All right, so we're going to add a couple more here and there. And good thing, because I am officially out of dimensionals. There are no more. So we're going to just peel off our backings. We're going to tuck this in so that it lies flat. And get rid of all of these guys. Get rid of them. Hello, Gail. How are you? Thank you. I'm glad you like them. All right, so we're going to pop this one on right to the front of my card, centered-ish and straight-ish. Again, using the lines on your DSP, the stripes, helps you to get that straight. Okay, so then we have these little pine cones. So I have cut 2 plain ones from vanilla cardstock. And then I have cut 2 of the detailed ones from gold foil. Now, I have used some of the multi-purpose adhesive sheets that we no longer carry on the back of my gold ones, just because it makes it easier to stick them down. Okay, now you could certainly use fine tip glue to adhere these. I just like these adhesive sheets, especially for videos, because it's quick. So you're going to see that these will layer just perfectly on your vanilla layer. Okay, just like that. We'll do another one. Thank you, Linda. I'm glad you like it. So we'll peel this guy off and we're going to add him right down here. Just like that. All right. And then just like we did on the last card, we're going to layer these 2 together. So we're going to layer them with a glue dot. So kind of just offset like that. All right. And then, we're going to have to use some mini dimensionals because the big ones are gone. So I'll double up on the minis. How's that? That will help them to stay put. So we're going to pop this right in that bottom corner of the label, just like that. And then we're going to tie one more bow. All right. Thanks, Martine. I'm glad you like these. So here again is your bow tying lesson. In case you missed it the first 2 times, we're making 2 little loops, not allowing to twist, left over right and through, and then adjust your tails. Okay, bow tying is not something to be feared. It's easy. You just have to practice. Just take some ribbon and practice tying bows. You know when I tie bows? While I'm watching the Leafs game. That's when I do all the bows for my classes. All right, so I'm going to just trim my tails. And I'm going to add a glue dot somewhere on the knot of the bow. And then that is going to pop on right there. Just like that. Isn't that easy? All of these cards are totally doable in mass production. So if you are looking to figure out what you're going to do for your Christmas cards this year, these are all very, very doable. All right. Aw, thanks, Martine, for sharing. Now on the inside of this, I want to show you, I added a very vanilla layer, and I use part of the sentiment. So the sentiment says, "May the spirit of peace gently fill your heart and home in this most wonderful time of the year." Because this was a horizontally oriented card, I didn't want to use that much and take up that much space. So what I did is I performed stamp surgery, and I know some of this will shock some of you, but I simply cut off that bottom part of the stamp. So I cut off "in this most wonderful time of the year." In fact, you could use just this on the front of a card. You could say, "in this most wonderful time of year," and then on the inside say, "May the spirit of peace gently fill your heart and home." Okay, so by just doing that little bit of surgery, you could get far more versatility out of this sentiment. Okay, so don't be afraid to cut your stamps. It's okay. If you want to use the entire image, you just mount them together on a block and you're good to go. All right, so that is how I did that inside piece. Then I added a little bit of a stamped pine bough there. Okay, all right, now let me just pull in all three projects again so you can see them all together for those who joined late. We are all about the traditional red and green Christmas today. There they are. Okay. Thanks so much for joining me today, everybody. I have to run because I have to get to a meeting in Kitchener, but I really appreciate you stopping by. I hope you enjoyed these projects, and I will see you again next week for another episode at the regular 5 o'clock time of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.